Hi, and welcome to my channel where I make dishes inspired by some of my favorite video game characters. Today's dish is inspired by Monokuma from the Danganronpa series. Monokuma as a character and concept can be tricky to explain to people who have never played Danganronpa. He's just a small little teddy bear who is half cute and half evil looking. He's simultaneously one of the scariest and most intimidating characters, while also being one of the funniest and most enjoyable characters to be around. When I first played Trigger Happy Havoc and was first introduced to the Danganronpa series and Monokuma, I was honestly kind of scared of Monokuma. When I thought of how I would feel about Monokuma if I was one of the students stuck in Hope's Peak Academy, I found him terrifying. As a person playing through Makoto Naegi, I felt on edge when he was on screen and was worried about what could happen next. There was so much mystery around Monokuma at first, along with the mastermind, and I felt this way about Monokuma until I finished Trigger Happy Havoc. As I played the remainder of the games, some of that tension did remain, but I also started to really appreciate his humor and personality and the way he communicated with all of the characters. He went from being a character that I dreaded seeing to a character that I found myself smiling when he was on screen. I really appreciate Monokuma as a character for making me do such a 180 on my opinion of him. I know that we'll likely never get another new Danganronpa game, but I will continue to always feel drawn to him as a character and mascot anytime I see him. When coming up with the dish for Monokuma, I had an aha moment when I went through my thought process. Obviously, Monokuma is a bear, so for a long time I was thinking of foods that bears would like honey, berries, fish, and then I remembered that there is a delicious pastry called a bear claw. I also wanted to use flavors that were black or white in color due to Monokuma's contrasting black and white design. Luckily, there's a delicious ingredient that fits this criteria and would work nicely in a pastry. Therefore, for Monokuma, we are making some extreme Oreo bear claws, and making these to snack on is definitely the right choice, not the dreadfully wrong one. Here's what you'll need to make your own. For the Oreo filling, you'll need Oreos, cream cheese at room temperature, salted butter at room temperature, vanilla extract, powdered sugar, and heavy cream as needed. For the bear claws, you'll need 17.3 ounces of frozen puff pastry that is thawed, a large egg yolk, whole milk, and Oreos. Lastly, for the glaze, you'll need powdered sugar and whole milk. Since 3 of our ingredients need to be softened and thawed, make sure to set them out about 30 minutes before you get started so that they're ready to go when you are. You'll start out the process by making the Oreo cream cheese filling. We'll start out by crushing 10 Oreo cookies. You can do this in a food processor, but I think it's a lot quicker and easier to just toss them into a Ziploc bag and crush them with your hands and a rolling pin. Once they're crushed, set them aside. Later, when we're making the bear claws, we'll also need a few more crushed Oreo cookies, so you'll also crush 4 more cookies in a separate batch. In a mixing bowl with an electric mixer or in a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, add in 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, 4 tablespoons or a half stick of softened salted butter, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Beat and mix until everything becomes nice and smooth. We'll then add in 1 cup of powdered sugar and beat again until smooth once more. We'll grab a rubber spatula and fold in our 10 crushed Oreos. Fold and fold until the mixture is well incorporated, and then stick into the fridge to stay cool until the bear claws are ready to fill. We'll start making the bear claw pastries. We'll go ahead and preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper. On a lightly floured surface, we'll grab our thawed puff pastry. If it's not already, roll the 2 sheets out into 9 by 9 inch squares. We'll then cut these into 9 3-inch squares. Altogether, you'll have 18 3 by 3 inch squares. Next, 1 square at a time, you'll spread about 1 tablespoon of your Oreo cream cheese filling onto the center of each square. If the filling is too thick for your liking, you can add heavy cream as needed and stir. Once every square has Oreo filling, you'll fold each square over the filling to make rectangles. It might be a little bit messy. You can gently pull the edges of the puff pastry squares to make the folding process easier. Once all 18 are folded, you can use your hands and/or a fork to press and seal the edges of the pastry so they stay together. Here's where it starts to become very fun. Using a dough scraper, knife, or pizza cutter, we'll cut 4 slits into each pastry. We're cutting 4 lines so that we'll end up with 5 fingers or claws. Each slit that you cut should be about 1 inch long, and they should be about a ½ inch apart, but these measurements do not need to be exact at all, just eyeballed. The slits will be cut on the side of the rectangle that has been sealed, so it should be on the opposite side of the Oreo filling. Once all 4 slits are in place, you'll carefully bend and curve the ends of the bear claw down to more closely resemble a claw, and then you'll place onto your prepared baking sheet. Repeat with all 18 of the bear claws. Before these guys go into the oven, we'll grab a small bowl or glass and whisk 1 large egg yolk inside, as well as 1 tablespoon of whole milk to make our egg wash. Once well mixed, we'll brush the egg wash onto the tops of all of the bear claws. While the egg wash is still pretty fresh, you'll grab your 4 crushed Oreo cookies from earlier and sprinkle the crumbs over the tops of the pastries. Then there's one final step before they can finally go into the oven, and while it takes a few minutes, it adds so much charm. You'll grab about 13 Oreo cookies and remove the filling from inside. Take each individual chocolate cookie and break into 4s or 5ths, and then you'll press these fractured pieces into the fingertips of the bear claws to look like, well, little bear claws. If you're used to eating traditional bear claws, you'll know that sliced almonds are usually used for the claws, so we're just substituting the almonds for Oreos here. Again, it takes a little bit of time, but add all of the individual claws to each individual fingertip, and then once you're done, it's finally time to slide them into the oven. They should bake for around 18 to 24 minutes or until they become a nice and golden brown color. It's also not a bad idea to set a timer for halfway through the bake so you can switch the top baking sheet to the bottom and the bottom baking sheet to the top just to get a more even bake between the two. While the claws are baking, we'll quickly make our finishing glaze. In a small bowl, we'll add in 1 cup of powdered sugar and 4 teaspoons of whole milk. Whisk them both together until the mix becomes very smooth, and save for later. You can definitely use a piping bag, but this glaze is generally thin enough that you can just use a spoon or your whisk to drizzle later. Now, once the bear claws are done baking, you'll remove them from the oven and allow them to cool on a cooling rack. Let the claws cool for at least 5 minutes, and once 5 minutes have passed, go ahead and drizzle with your glaze and enjoy. A bear claw has been discovered! These are such a fun, sweet treat to devour. They have such a fun and charming appearance, and their taste is addictive to boot. The pastry itself is so flaky and crispy, and the mix of textures from the soft Oreo filling to the crunchy Oreo cookies is so lovely. There's a light butteriness to the pastry, there's a rich chocolate taste from the Oreos, and the sweet and sugary touch from the glaze all just goes so well together. They're so small and easy to make, and of course the options for customization for your own bear claws are endless. Fruits, chocolates, caramels, custards, you name it. I can see Monokuma's Monokubs going absolutely feral over these and eating too many all of the time and getting in fights over who done it and ate the last one in the cookie jar. As we know in Danganronpa V3, Monokuma would just resort to licking all of the Monokubs to get them to be quiet. On the other hand, if Monami was trying to sneak a bite, Monokuma's reaction would be insanely different and he would fight her until she gave up. I can picture Monokuma and Junko going into the food business to mass produce these bear claws with some kind of despair-filled plan that defies all logic. Somehow, I'm sure they'd find a way to inject despair-inducing chemicals into the bear claws to create more loyal followers. One thing you can't deny about Monokuma is that if he does anything, he gives it everything he's got. The recipe card is in the video description if you'd like a more quick and concise version to give it a try. Like if you want a bite, subscribe for more geeky treats, and comment what foods Monokuma reminds you of. Thanks for following along.